So have you ever wondered about installing solar on your home? What is the difference between the different systems and panels? Today, we're interviewing an expert with Craft Builders, and we're going to get into the details, so stay tuned. So I'm Theresa Wellman. Welcome to our channel. Today, I have with me an expert in solar installation. This is Chris Beck. Chris is going to walk us through the process of designing, installing solar. This is one of his expertise. Tell us how you got into solar, because you said you're Craft Builders. So you are a general contractor. I know you also have an electrical license, which allows you to do solar, but solar is kind of a niche even of electrical. So can you explain that?
Yep. So there's actually a couple of licenses that qualify you for doing electric solar. One is the C10, so that's your general electrical license. And these are all licenses that are issued by the California State License Board, CSLB. That's one of the things that we do always recommend that people go for any kind of project on your home. Actually, you should go check out the CSLB website and check on your contractor. Make sure he's properly licensed, insured, has the correct workers' comp insurance and all that kind of stuff. And that can all be checked on the CSLB website at cslb.ca.gov.
So when did you start getting into solar?
Let's see. I think I first started with another company in 2006. I was in real estate development at the time, and one of my partners in that has a commercial roofing company who was also got into commercial solar. And so I went over there to help him at that time, because real estate was kind of not a good market to be in
Yes.
2006.
Yeah, pre the Great Recession. Yes.
Yeah. So, but solar was booming. And so we got into that really big. We did a lot of big commercial projects and schools and some residential. And so that's really kind of where I got started in it, and really just did it full time for up until 2015-ish or so.
Okay.
And then from there, got into kind of everything else too at the same time. But solar was kind of where I started, actually.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So you had 9-10 years of solar full-time experience before jumping into other fields as well. So
correct. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yep.
Okay. So you've seen a huge history of that. So Chris, can you tell me what's the initial process when somebody reaches out to you about solar? How do you meet with clients and kind of talk through the timeline a little bit?
So initially, the first thing we typically do is get their historical data. We would ask the customer to log into their PG&E account if that's their utility provider. Click on their My Green button to download about a year's worth of past data. It downloads into a CSV file, which can be emailed to us and then imported into our software, so we can actually know how much electricity they used over a year's period, and then tells us how many solar panels they need to put on their house, or how many watts of solar panel they need for their system.
Perfect. So would you is there anything to keep in mind with that 1 year's history, or do you ever average 2 years, for example? Maybe if somebody's done some big changes in their home, do they need more history, or how do you compensate for that?
Yeah, we can look at that as well. PG&E, I don't remember if they actually will let you do 2 years anymore. They used to let you download multiple years, and we can look at a couple different things. When you do, the more data you have, the better always. But in having multiple years, we can look to see if your pattern or your history has increased or started you using more electricity or less electricity than you did the year before. So we can kind of get something going there, because we know if we need to go bigger or smaller than what you actually did over just the last 12 months.
Got it. So do you generally have a rule of thumb as to how big you design a system?
It depends. There's a lot of different factors that go into whether we design it for more than what they used or less than what they used. Some of that could be whether it's being installed with batteries. Some of that modeling is definitely going to change once NEM 3 starts in April. There's a lot of different factors that go along with that. Typically, I've seen most of the systems that we've installed over the years. We have seen, after it's been installed, the homeowner or customer, commercial, if it's commercial, has increased their usage more, sometimes just because all of a sudden their air conditioning gets turned down a little more, or the lights get left on a little more than they used to, just because they have solar now. And after a year of having it, all of a sudden, hey, they've got a bill again, and they're like, hey, something's wrong with my solar, and no, you're just using more than you used to.
Yeah. Okay.
So, we'll look at that. And then, so I typically do oversize the systems a little bit to, kind of accommodate for that.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense. Now, can you explain, you mentioned NEM 3 in April. So this is April 2023. Can you explain what that is?
Basically, it's just the net energy. It's PG&E's utility rate schedule or system that's for the net energy metering. It's the third version. It's NEM3. What's happening is the amount that they're giving you credit for, or the biggest part of this new rollout, is that the amount they're giving you credit for in your overproduction of solar is substantially less than it has been in the past. So when you have a system when you're producing more solar electricity than what you're using in the house, your meter would run backwards and you'd get credit for that electricity that you're putting back into the grid. And that is going to be a much smaller dollar amount. I want to say it's around 4 cents a kilowatt hour, whereas in the past it's been, depending on the customer, it's been between 25 and 35 cents a kilowatt hour.
So does that get grandfathered in if somebody were to install solar before April? Or
it does. If you have a solar system, solar panels installed before then you get grandfathered into the NEM2. There are several different caveats, so we have some customers who already have solar and they're deciding they want to add more solar. The same goes for them. If you have it installed before April, you'll still stay on the NEM2. If you were to add solar panels after the NEM3 rollout, then I understand currently that you're going to get put onto NEM3 completely. So your old system isn't grandfathered. Your entire system goes on to the new NEM3 if you modify it.
Ooh, interesting. So people need to be aware of this timeline and how that might affect it. And maybe batteries are going to become more popular after this rollout? Yep,
they are. They will, because PV solar creates the electricity, and that's why you have such a good return on investment on it. Batteries just store it, and there is actually some losses when you're converting from your electricity that you use in your house, your AC power, to a battery. It converts it to a DC, and then alternatively, when you use it, it goes back to AC again. So there are some losses of power in all those different conversions or inversions.
The efficiency of batteries, you just have to be aware of. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Can you explain, when you meet with clients, kind of how the process works and maybe how you are different than maybe some of the other solar options out there?
Sure. So one of the things that, we pride ourselves in is that when people call us to come take a look at getting solar, it's going to be probably myself that's going to come out to your house. We're going to look at your equipment that's there, your main panel. There are some limitations on how much solar we can put on your house based on the electrical equipment you have at your house also currently. So we'll look at that. We'll look at other site conditions like condition of the roof, orientation of the roof, and the azimuth and tilt of it. But one of the things that we kind of set ourselves apart is that we don't have just a salesperson that doesn't know how to install this stuff. Also, it's going to be myself, who's been doing installations for years, doing financial modeling for years, and I know what to look for, and I can tell you what's going to work and what's not going to work, and how much you really need. Whereas there are some other companies out there that have just salespeople that work for them that are just there to sell a system.
Got it.
I have run into situations where a customer called me up and they had got sold something else, but then when the installers came to install it, they told the homeowner, nope, we're not gonna be able to install the system on your house because of X, Y, and Z. And so it just makes it a very frustrating situation for them when that happens. And so it's, much better to know that all ahead of time and not run into those on the day you're supposed to get your installation done.
Got it. So maybe can you tell us what are some reasons why maybe someone can't do solar or it doesn't necessarily make sense?
One of the biggest things with solar panels on a residential roof is going to be, we're gonna model it out based on what your return on investment is, and how many panels you need based on your usage, and then what your cost of power is, and then those all together will tell you what your payback period is going to be. And if ones that don't make sense or limitations of the system, so it's going to be like your main panel size, one of the limiting factors.
So to interrupt you real quickly, can you just upgrade your panel? But that's an additional expense, correct?
Exactly. You can upgrade the panel. There's additional time involved in that as well.
Okay.
There are some ways to install solar without having to upgrade, but we have found that most of the time, the panels that are outdated or were installed originally in the home are safety concerns anyway. And the city codes most of the time, like say City of San Jose, for instance, I mean, even doing a kitchen remodel, they're requiring to have, you'd have a certain size amperage of panel, which most people don't even have anyway. So it's just a good thing to try to wrap into your solar installation, and then make it part of the solar installation for the tax credit and all that kind of stuff.
Perfect. Okay. So really it's a financial trade-off why some people it might not work. Does your roof orientation or slope sometimes kill the deal as well?
It can, because if you're facing a direction that's not going to produce as much electricity, or if you have in an area with a lot of trees, so you don't get direct sunlight, so you have shading issues of the solar panels. All those things are going to limit the production of electricity from the solar panel, and your cost is going to be based on, how much of it we're installing. But if they're not efficient because they're shaded all the time or they're not facing the sun, then that's going to really affect the return on investment or the payback period.
Got it.
So there are definitely a lot of different factors that come into play, and that's why we want to look at your house individually and assess exactly what you have and what you need.
Perfect.
Roof square footage is another big part of it. There's some people that may have all electric, say they have all electric appliances, but they've only got, I don't know, 1,000 square foot house or something. So they've only got so much roof area to put solar panels on, but they've got a lot of electrical consumption because maybe they have an electric car, maybe they have a pool that's, that uses electric heater. I mean, or they have all electric water heaters, electric furnace or a heat pump. So they've got this big electrical consumption, but they don't have enough roof to put enough solar panels to actually produce all of it. So there's a lot of different factors that can come into the design, as well as the, calculating all the paybacks and everything for the individual customer.
Perfect. Okay, that makes sense. So backing up, can you just give people an idea of the timeline? If they meet with you, what would be a typical timeline to get through the entire process and get it installed? Are we talking 6 months? Are we talking 2 months?
It really depends on the system itself, somewhat. Okay. The system design usually takes a week or two to get through, to get the plans and the permits. That also depends on the city that we're in. Some cities we're able to pull the permit over the website and do it instantaneously. Okay. Some of them we have to submit a full package and they have to do reviews, and it can take 30 days or more, 60 days sometimes to get the permit from the city. It also depends on the condition of the roof. Does the roof have to have any work done before we install the solar? Things like that. But time frame, if you were, if let's say it's San Jose and we can pull the permit online and there's no batteries installed, then we can do the design, pull the permit in about a week to 2 weeks, and then start installing immediately after that in some cases.
Okay. And the installation is
only a few days. Yeah.
Okay. Few days, and then it's got to be the permit has to be signed off by the city too, right? Before it's turned on. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But the installation itself, it's anywhere from 1 day to 4 days, depending on the roof, what we're doing, what we're installing. I mean, there's a lot of different things, but it's okay. Somewhere in that range.
So in perfect system, if your team has availability, you could meet with you and have it working, and then within a month, it sounds like it's doable.
In some cases, some cases, yeah.
Okay.
Some cases, absolutely.
So if anyone wanted to beat that April deadline, they better hurry up, right?
That's right. You got to start right away.
Okay, good to know.
Everybody's trying to get on that bandwagon.
Yeah.
Including myself. I'm finally installing it at my house too.
Perfect. So can you, I guess, tie it up with any misconceptions that you see clients have, or common questions where people get derailed, just to give, viewers a little heads up of what they should be aware of?
I think the biggest misconception on solar that I've ever seen over the years is going to be that because they have solar panels, that when PG&E, if the power goes out, that they still have power in their house. And that's not the case. The solar panels themselves, when PG&E shuts off, they shut off also, unless you have a battery backup system with a transfer capability. We typically install the Enphase products most of the time, the microinverters with the smart switch, and then the Envoy monitoring with the in-charge battery system. It's one company that does everything. It integrates seamlessly on all levels. If PG&E power goes out when you have all those components installed, you pretty much don't know it until you get an email saying that your power is out in your house, and you still have power going though. So it's a pretty nice system.
Okay, cool. So I got a little bit from that. It also sounds like you've got some good monitoring or apps or something that people can understand their solar system. So I'm sure you go into that detail with clients when you meet with them.
I do. I can show them some systems that we monitor. We monitor all this. Actually, we monitor all the systems for the people that we install.
Okay.
We get immediate notifications if there's ever anything wrong. So that's part of the warranty, I guess you could say that we offer. Is that we do continually monitor that stuff and get notifications if there's any issues, all the way down to the single solar panel granularity. Because we do the Enphase microinverter systems, we actually get, if one solar panel or one inverter that's on your roof has an issue, we get notification of it. So it's a pretty cool system.
Very cool. All right, perfect. So to close it up, if people are interested in doing solar and they want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Best way would just be to call our office. It's 888-497-6999.
That's on your website too, right?
It is. That number's on the website. They can dial extension 11, talk to Jennifer, and she'll let them know, she can walk them through the downloading process of the data that you need for your electrical consumption. And then email it over to us, and then we'll schedule an appointment for me to come out and actually do a site visit and visually check the roof conditions, the electrical panel conditions, things like that. We can also install, during those installations, we can do car charger installations at the same time. We do that quite often. Panel upgrades, there's lots of different things we can do at the same time.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Chris, so much for sharing your knowledge with us and helping our clients understand the process of installing solar and the April deadline to be aware of. Definitely. I didn't know about that. So perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much.
All right. Have a good one.